TV not on?
Stops.
There it
I think it's see if it stops now, but it might be that connection down there.
Are we ready? Ready? Okay. This is the March 10th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Adjustment of the City of Washington, Missouri. Roll call.
Gwen Montal,
Present.
Samantha Wacker,
Here.
Jason Pellin,
Here.
Kevin Creedy,
Here.
Mark Scornia, Sarah Skeen.
Here.
Will you join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a meeting not too long ago on February 12th. Has everybody gotten to see the minutes?
Yes.
Anybody want a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, nobody opposed. All right, tonight we have a new application. Sarah?
Yeah, so we have an application for the property at 526, 530 East Fifth Street. It's currently a vacant parcel. And I'm going to kind of go through our comprehensive plan and our zoning requirements before we look at that more closely. So our comprehensive plan 2034, we have a strategy there that says that we are going to redevelop our Fifth Street corridor into a pedestrian-friendly multi-use corridor that serves as the new entrance into downtown. And so they kind of use the term neighborhood mixed-use district for this. It's the pink that you see that's running from 47, and it goes, I think, about to Stafford. So this intent is to provide that incremental revitalization and redevelopment by establishing a front build-to-line in place of an existing setback. Currently, our existing setback for that C2 overlay is 10 feet. So we ask, with that setback, we ask that developers are building closer to the street, even without the comprehensive plan. And then the comprehensive plan also suggests that we require, right now we don't, but that we require cross-lot access between those parcels that are developing on Fifth Street so that they can share the parking, so that we have less curb cut and we have shared facilities in the back or on the side of parking. So this large yellow arrow is roughly the location of the property that we're going to be discussing today. So just another quick slide on the comprehensive plan. Again, same as I read before, but you can see these are what they took pictures of that they said are best practices and what we're looking for this corridor. And these are our buildings, and this is on Fifth Street. So I think all of these pictures are from the west side of Fifth Street, but that's the vision for the entire corridor. Also looking at a map of the C2 overlay, I put those little stars on there to show you all the different properties, whether they are commercial currently or residential, that are all pretty much within that 10-foot setback with parking on the side and in the rear. So there's quite a few. I didn't count them, and I think there's some stars that I didn't put on there just because the overlap, it would be too busy. But you can see we have a wide range of properties that are already historically have been developed that way. And then, in the past couple of decades, we've kind of laxed our requirements and kind of gave permission, or maybe permission shouldn't have been granted. But we're back to bringing that style of development to Fifth Street. So here is an aerial of the property that they want to build on. And again, our C2 overlay district that was passed 2017 says that for the C2 overlay, we are trying to create a mixed use of residential and commercial. In our zoning district, it's west of Hancock and east of High Street, to enhance that pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use development. In our code, our parking requirements are pretty liberal. We only require 1 space per residential unit, so if they build something with residential, we would require 1 space per unit, but 0 off-street spaces for non-residential. So commercial are not required to have any parking whatsoever in the C2 overlay. And then the highlighted area is what we're talking about today, to allow for variance to have parking that's in front of the building and have the building set back. That's what they're requesting. So, and you can see Schrader's to the east and the strip mall also further to the east. Across the street, you see Dollar General. Wasn't originally Dollar General. I hear it was a very nice shopping area, but has changed over time. And you can see that that change has created kind of a disharmonious and almost unsafe area. The owner of the Wealth Management Advisors across the street, I think it's Hafner, Wealth Advisors, yes. So he called me and he said, yeah, that they're prone to have derelict people kind of hanging out back there. And so he put up a fence, but he has no issues with his parking in the rear. He doesn't see an issue with that on his property. So bringing things forward would make it a safer, more desirable place to shop and to live. And that's our intent for the code and for the comprehensive plan.
Does the board have any questions?
So build 2 lines, so you said the setback, you'd like to see him go up to the setback line. That's
Yeah,
not the
so our setback is 10 feet, which, I think is pretty generous, but it gives you room to offer maybe some outdoor seating or some planters or, bike racks or things like that, so you have a little bit of wiggle room. So more walkability, multimodal, but the comprehensive plan is basically saying you can build right up to your property line, kind of like our C3 district. You don't have a setback.
Can you go back to that
Oh,
previous picture there, Sarah? Thank you. So if you can look, it's not quite on here, but if you can see there where Sonic is located, a perfect example of after we pass this code, there's a doctor's office that's right there just east of Sonic on the north side. That was built exactly with this, after this code was passed, I think in 2017 is when we identified that. It might have been before that. We did a C2 overlay district. I think it was before 2017. I'd have to look and see how long that's been in place, but because that building I think is older than 2017. So, but that's an example of what we were looking for when we did that. Also, and then also within this picture is just that the Schrader's building. They did have to go to the Board of Adjustment, and they were issued a variance for that parking, for those parking spaces that they have in the rear. Or, I'm sorry, in the front. I should have said in the front. So those are 2 examples right there of one that didn't receive the variance and one that met the code and what the city was trying to go ahead and do. One other thing that I will mention that I'm not suggesting, because I think you'll see in the site plan of what the applicant is looking for and what Schrader's did, was also that to try to do away with just unrestricted access off of the parking lot coming onto Fifth Street. It's not on this slide or whatever, but I'm going to pick on them for a second. But if you go up to Williams Brothers, for example, and you look at how that is designed,
Right.
not the ideal situation for motorists and pedestrians to go ahead and cross. You got the sidewalk there, and then they back straight on out because there's no curb cuts. I will say at minimum with Schrader's, what you have, like, for example, looking at that, they do have at least identifiable where the access, it's clear where the access points are coming onto the lot. So you don't have, you don't have that problem of mixing, or at least you limit it with pedestrians and motorists. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so my final slide is their site plan that they have for their building. You can see how they have their parking structured, how they would have their entrance further to the west of Schrader's. I drew an outline of their building and I just kind of moved it up to the front. And I'm not telling them, how they need to lay out their property, but if they had, moved it up and over to the left and created some sort of shared access from Schrader's, and they can wrap that parking lot off the side and in the back, that might give them enough parking for their intended use, which from what I understand is law office and other various office uses that has yet to be determined. The applicant can speak to that.
One other thing, one of the factors I think that was taken into account when Schrader's was granted the variance too, it was very important for them at this new location, whether or not the board should have granted the variance that's not the point, but they wanted to go ahead and move it back further due to the drive-through, because that was a key element to what they wanted to have as a drive-through for their business, so.
Good. Applicant want to speak?
Steve Sturberg with Harn Architects. I'm here with the Menzies, who are the property owners. Thank you all for being here tonight. What we're asking for is a variance for front yard parking for 9 parking spaces, based on the C2 overlay that's current, the current zoning standards. Darren mentioned in 2018, I was actually here with Schrader's, and we went for that variance also. Some of that had to do with the drive-through, but a lot of it had to do with getting parking in the front and having sight lines, both east and west, on that corner. That's the one danger of pulling the building up front, is it's harder to see around, and everybody wants to put a sign out front, and you got signs, you got landscaping, it's hard to see, and as we all know, people get going through that section a little faster than normal, and we've had accidents up the street. There's limited parking on the street. So our site plan, as you can see, well, I don't know, in the handout if you got, we studied several different things. We're on site plan E. We looked at putting the building up front. It's a lot of problems for us. What we're asking for really isn't anything unique. This lot is contiguous with Schrader's, with a lot next to it. There's an empty one to the west of us, but then there's a used car lot on the corner. So everybody already, their build to line is not 10 feet. That setback's a minimum setback. That means we can set back further than that, the way I view it. We've been involved, my office has been involved in several studies on this block, on the corner, on the one just to the left of us there, and of course Schrader's. These lot sizes and the configuration makes it kind of tough to develop. The parking standards are set fixed dimensions, but then we lay that on there, but then we got to get a building to work with our clients' needs and how that flow works, how the entrances work. To put the building up on the street, if you read the comp plan, they want the entrances on the front of the street. This is not a large building. It's 4,500 square feet. But you're forcing people to walk up the driveway, parking in the back, which, same thing we had with Schrader's. Brian's got a lot of elderly clientele that come to his office. To try to put an entrance on the front and the back, we just don't have the space in the building to do that. That's just the reality of it. I understand the planning, but the reality of making something work and making this a developable piece of land that it's driver friendly, to have that entrance on that curve, that would be dangerous. You got Schrader sign next to it. If you tried to slide the property over to the right, we don't have enough width for that, plus the drive and parking. The way we look at it is like I said, this isn't unique. Sarah put up a slide where she showed parking in, side yards and backyards. I had submitted a drawing where it showed parking in front yards, which is something I want to ask again, Darren. I know we've had this discussion before. Front yard is the entire width of the property, is that correct? Correct. So you'll see a lot of, depending on where the front of your building is, Hardee's is a perfect example. If you strike a line across the front of Hardee's, there's actually parking in the front yard. It's not just in front of the building, it's the entire property line to property line. So I think if you pay attention to that, we have a lot of parking in front yards. This whole block, really, with the exception of the property Darren talked about, which was prior to 2017, where they turned the building sideways. You listen to the comp plan, or you read the comp plan, they want an entrance facing the street. That entrance is off the side driveway. You don't see it at all. The geometry of that lot was long and narrow, and that was the only way they could develop that lot. That building is a long rectangle, I'll say going south to north. So that, you know, every site's different. I think some of our big concerns is, you know, the pedestrian access is somewhat limited. There are no cross easement parking lots or community lots along Fifth Street. Well, on this, you know, we've got 2 more owners. Nobody's gonna develop that unless the city wants to buy a lot and put us a community parking lot, but, you know, pedestrian areas, it's gonna be hard. There's no stop signs or crosswalks for a long stretch of Fifth Street there. There's one down at, what is that, not Madison, MacArthur? On the corner there.
MacArthur.
But, so to try to give our clients parking in the front of the building, makes the most sense to us. And to me, it's not spot zoning at all. It's contiguous. It's very compatible with the block and really the whole area there. If you start up here at Fisher's and head through all the way down to the hospital, you think about all the parking lots. There's quite a few of them. Brian, you got anything? Or if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, I don't.
So again, thank you guys, go,
Do you mind identifying yourself?
certainly.
We know who you are, but.
I'm Brian Menzie. I am one of the owners of the property that we're looking to develop. I happen to be an elder law attorney. It's a specialty that I actually do. All of my clients that I have are typically over the age of 50. Actually, I just met with one that was 101. And one of the reasons why we've gone through so many variations on the design of this particular building was to ensure that my elderly clients that come to and from my office have an ability to have easy access to it, so that they can actually park. We can actually see them, because one of the things that we are also always concerned with is when they show up to the office, do they need assistance getting into or out of their particular car? Having the parking in the front and the way that the building and the way that the space of the lot is, it's perfectly set up so that the receptionist as well as the legal secretary have a view of the actual front parking lot, so that if somebody does arrive, that they can actually see them, provide assistance if they need. I can use my mom as one example. When she actually got elderly, and before she passed away, her ability to navigate was severely restricted. She couldn't even walk 20 feet without actually getting winded. And so one of the reasons why moving a building all the way to the front is it's actually going to create an unnecessary burden on most of my clients. I am not like most attorneys that have a general practice. I have all elderly clients, and it will be basically non-functional because I can't design the building on the space that I have to accommodate the safety of my clients as well as keep a view on them. And also, as we all get older, we all tend to get a little confused on where it's at. So from a cognitive capability, having the parking in the front and the entrance in the front is actually going to be very clients in that particular instance. And again, I will also share, we've gone through many iterations of this, trying to figure out the best way to accommodate the particular needs for everybody. And this is the last one that we actually came to, which required the variance request. So that's kind of like my particular, I'm looking out after the clients. I want to make it easy. I want to make it safe. I want to make it so that they have visibility from the street so that they're not potentially obstructed in case they have issues. So that's the general gist of why we are looking for what we are looking for. Do you guys have any questions on any of that?
So is your office the only use of the building, or are there multiple uses going on in there?
So the majority of it is my office space. So it is going to be a two-story building. I do have on the one end a couple of units that I can actually rent out and use, but I would say 3/4 of this building is being designed and utilized for my usage.
Okay. Are you envisioning like similar types of use in the rental spaces? I'm just trying to get a concept of the purpose of the building.
On the other spaces, they're small, they're about 800 square feet each, so you're not going to have a huge type of retail type thing. But could you? I'm not going to BS you and tell you that, yeah, I won't let it, because I'm a capitalistic pig. I do want to make some money as well. So I do want it to be in harmony with what we are doing. Will I have a tattoo parlor next to me? No. Am I going to
You'd be
have,
surprised what the elderly want.
I will second that, and I can tell you some stories.
So could I.
It is just fascinating. That's why I always joke, I don't have to make up stories because truth is so much stranger than the fiction that you can actually do. So, but no, I'm intending something to be harmony, like if it's going to be a financial advisor, maybe an accountant, something that actually caters to. Because as I tell my clients when I meet with them, you need 3 people involved in your life. You need an elder law attorney, you're going to need a financial advisor, and last but not least, you're going to need an accountant. And so I'm looking for harmony in that particular respect. And so that is my goal and my aspiration in the general gist. Other questions?
I do got a question for Steve, I guess. Assuming you looked at multiple options, what was the issue with rotating 90 degrees?
Well, we really, I mean, from a business standpoint, you want to see the face.
See the front, right.
See the front entrances. This is really set up to have 2 entrances on the front, because Brian's office and that other professional tenant. Also, we did look at the comp plan. I mean, our main reason we're here is because of the zoning ordinance, not the comp plan. I understand, you know, the importance of that. The comp plan talks about on these primary streets of having the entrances face the street. One of the things we did take into consideration, probably the last 2 schemes were more of this direction. In the comp plan, it talks about pedestrian friendly, so we have the sidewalk. It talks about layering, so we'd had a small landscaping area, then we had our parking, and we had another layer of landscaping, and then the building. So we're not ignoring the comp plan at all. We're trying to work with it. But those ideas of cross-access parking, it's not there. I know if we read the zoning code, we don't have to have a single parking spot. Brian would be out of business immediately. You know, he wouldn't, I mean, you guys drive, there's nowhere to park. And if you know, we got the single curb cut entrance on our lot. Schrader's has got 2 distinct ones, which I agree, it's a lot better than, you know, well, Darren threw Williams Brothers under the bus already, so. Or the,
Well, I mean, it's,
or across from Hardy's there, but where you're backing out into the street. So we looked at that, plus getting signage out there. That was one of the things the comprehensive plan talked about, was putting, like monument or pylon signs. Not that it's anything huge, but Schrader's, you can kind of see there's a little rectangle to the left of their entrance. They have one, so getting those sight lines was really important to us also. So to turn the building, I mean, it's always good to have the face of your building facing the public, or you get lost. It's like a corner in a shopping center. If you got an L shape, that guy in the corner, that's the worst. All the businesses go out of business.
Anybody else, questions? I just looked into shared parking with Schrader's, and I don't, you know, looking at the plan right now, it's not the best idea.
My guess also is being, they were a former client of mine, I don't know if he'd be real crazy about shared access. And I don't know if Brian is either.
When you actually have the shared access, I mean, you start running into all kinds of other issues. Who's going to be responsible for the maintenance? Who's going to be responsible for the liability? Who is going to be responsible for all different aspects of it? And if there is an accident, who is going to be responsible for that? There is a whole large can of worms that, from an attorney standpoint, oh my God, I wouldn't want to be the owner of that shared lot because of the liability issues that would go along with it.
Too bad, it's just less concrete, right?
Oh,
If you could.
Oh, I agree 100%. It would definitely be very nice. But the practical aspect of it, the liability will stop a lot of people from
Sure.
ever entertaining it.
Anybody else, questions? Okay, do you want to read?
Ready?
Sure.
Is there anybody here that is against
No,
it?
thank you. Anybody in opposition of this? No?
So
Thank you, Jason.
do we want to discuss among board
Anna,
members,
do
or?
you want to?
Sure.
So, I mean, I drove by there, and, I mean, I drive by there all the time, but just in looking at it in terms of consistency with the surrounding area, I don't see that what the applicant's asking for is different. I see the planning aspect, but in terms of that I'm looking at that particular area, and will that harm surrounding property owners? Will that harm the city if we do the variance? And I'm failing to see harm that's where I'm looking at, but I don't know if anybody's seeing it differently.
I agree with you there, and if you think back, what was there before it was an empty lot,
Which was building right up on the street.
you know, it was a totally different aspect of what is being proposed here, so.
From the drawings, it's a lovely building. Welcome. I also see the idea, though, of the comprehensive plan and wanting it to look beautiful, because I drove down pretty regularly, and I don't find the parking lots bordering the street to be very, attractive. Doesn't mean that they're not, usable or practical or anything else like that, so. But matching the area, I agree with you. Anybody else?
Okay, we're ready? All right, whereas the board does find and determine that the properties in question located at 526 and 530 East Fifth Street are within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C2 overlay general commercial zoning district. And whereas the city code section 400.095E1B requires that parking shall be located inside or rear yard, whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing parking in the front yard. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow parking in the front yard is hereby granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the city of Washington are met. The city engineer is hereby directed to issue a building permit for development as described in accordance with this resolution of decision. Jason Pellin,
Yes.
Kevin Creedy,
Yes.
Gwen Montal,
Yes.
Samantha Wacker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Buddy, move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
A second.
Motion accepted, we're done.
I don't think they have that in here, but I can grab some.
you're saying if you wanna put a fence.
Can I sign?
Oh.
Last time I forgot to sign.
One.
Oh, no,
I didn't
to
have
come
one.
back the
Yeah,
next
then
day
you
and
have to
sign.
come back.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one.
Get the phone call, turn around.
Yep.
I just wrote absent and then I checked.
Yeah.
Just to protect.
Okay.
And make it
And
cohesive.
that's what it's.
Resolution.
So I mean, if he doesn't wanna go ahead.
Shape of that lot is, you know, it's right on the
It's so,
curve. and
yeah, it's just, you know, that, if it was in a different part of the street, I think I'd have it, but just that particular stretch. It's consistent with everything around it.
Yeah, I think that corner could get congested real quick.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Building will make a great improvement.
I see.
Thank you all.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, thanks.
But I did want, if I were to see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was
My desk,
Tear it all down by that time.
Oh. And close the street and make it pedestrian only? Never know. Could be Jefferson, couldn't it?
So is there an increase in lots then if he takes the 4 off of that?